Hi everyone, it's LS, and this is game number 2 of KingZone Dragon X versus Griffin. We just saw how in game number 1, Griffin did not really impress me that much. I was expecting a lot to be different coming into the series blind. I felt like KingZone won draft, and I think that they dominated early, and I think that Peanut single-handedly carried for Griffin. So we're going to go into game number 2 here, and KingZone is now banning away the Sejuani, which I do not think was the problem. Morgana now being banned away as well. Nocturne and Tom Kench being banned away by Griffin. Nocturne really just, I think, as a type of champion, Peanut would be great on, you know? Be able to be really far away from the fight and then press R because you weren't paying attention and then get a kill. I think that's really good. That'd be a pretty good utility. Maybe Pantheon. Alright, Talia banned away last. I do think that she's the strongest jungler in the game right now. Zoe is first picked for Chovy. And now KingZone gonna do a little bit of a mirror with the Aurelia. And then Mundo is locked in now. And now, again, I think that picking Mundo as early as they are is a mistake. I don't know why they're continuing to do it. Aatrox is still available, but perhaps they just don't want to play the same exact Ditto again. Especially because some of the variables are now changed. Trundle is picked up, and then Nidalee is locked in as one of the good answers to Trundle. Shen is locked in as well for Griffin, and obviously that Shen can likely go top lane, or he can also go bottom lane. Griffin does have that ability to represent the flex there. Swain and Yasuo now banned away by KingZone. I don't know entirely why you'd ban away the Swain. I think that there's still a lot of good answers, and I think that your team composition is already kind of good against it. And I think that Griffin would actually have to coordinate extremely well in order to make it useful with the way that the draft's unfolded thus far. Rakan is now picked up for KingZone, even though Griffin hasn't shown their hand for bottom lane yet. So I think that's questionable. Vladimir now locked in for Griffin, and Darius is locked in for Griffin. And so now if you're KingZone, I think yes, I think a traditional ADC is definitely going to be the best. Ezreal is going to be the safest against that. However, you could have opted into the Lucian if you wanted to try to accelerate. However, let's talk about some stuff. So, Peanut, I gotta mute for a second. One sec. Okay, Peanut he has the option to play a farm-centric style. He can play a farm-centric style, and he can play around top lane and mid lane. So it's a little bit different than last game. Praying Gorilla down in bottom could, in theory, be left on an island, especially because if Peanut ends up running into a counter gank from Tarzan, red side Nidalee versus blue side Trundle, then things can get chaotic in bottom lane. And then if Praying Gorilla already committed in with their abilities, then it's very hard to get out. And that is not a lane that you want falling behind. So I think in this sense, leaving Praying Gorilla on an island this game and playing top-centric is the most ideal. For Tarzan now, however, I think that counter gank style around top and bottom is the most ideal, and I think that leaving Chovy on an island in mid lane is likely to produce probably the best results. Because of the nature of Nidalee and just how fast she can move around the map and then power farm and whatnot, if Tarzan ends up going into a power farming style, I don't think that that's beneficial for his team composition. Especially because I think that the mid-game team fighting from KingZone, as long as it's not taken from like a surprise element, like if Griffin ends up getting a surprise flank or they get a surprise pick via vision or something of that nature, I think that KingZone can actually kite them around and they can play quite well. Obviously, KingZone's team composition has the poke element inside of it via the Ezreal and the Nidalee, and so even if Griffin tries to turtle from their blue side jungle with the Zoe, the Ezreal and the Nidalee provides more than enough firepower to try to break that phalanx and poke away at it, and then eventually secure themselves a Baron. Let's go into the game. Oh. I want to see the openings, I'm sorry. Okay. Looks like nothing too chaotic is going on right now. Looks like a standard leash, and we're buffering. At least we have that in common with Peanut. Okay, we're gonna have to pause for a little bit. I don't know why. Let's try to take this down to 1.5. And so Trundle now proceeding into the Scuttle Crab, and now if Peanut ends up hitting a spear here, things could get ugly. And it looks like Tarzan does not want to have that fight. Italy is going to be able to transition right into her Wraith camp. Important to note that they are both even, 2 camp, 2 camp. And Peanut actually just lets him get away with getting the Scuttle. And I couldn't actually see the state of mid lane, so I'm not entirely sure who had the priority at this exact moment. The problem is now, however, is that you can see that while Peanut is able to transition like this, okay, this is infinitely worse than this. But Peanut does have the luxury of being able to go straight to the Scuttle Crab, so he can just go like this and he can get the Scuttle Crab. The problem is that after this, he's on standby. It's too early to transition into Wraiths, and then it's unlikely that he would want to go like this into the Golems, because if Tarzan ends up just going like this, he could end up meeting him here, and this would obviously be a very bad time, especially if Lehens ends up having it warded. Then Peanut gets repelled, and then if he ends up getting repelled, then Tarzan is going to have the superior rubber banded root, and then it's not going to be a good time for Peanut, because then Peanut's root ends up being something like this, and it doesn't offer much to his team. Praying Gorilla end up getting a pretty sizable lead. Let's just take a look at some stuff. Tarzan takes blue, hits Scryer, and then right here they trade kills, which obviously ends resulting in KingZone getting an advantage, because Prey's able to get the level. And then you can see what Tarzan's doing. He runs into a jungle that doesn't have anything. And now Peanut is able to go from his wolves, he gets the golems away from Tarzan, and then he can go into the Scuttle Crab. And depending on what Tarzan does, enough time might pass where Peanut can actually get Scuttle Crab, stay on the map, get Grump, and then even get his Wraiths. And if that ends up happening, Tarzan's super far behind. Okay, so it looks like Tarzan, okay, well, really just captures it. He gets his Gromp, he gets his Wolves, and I mean, his entire clear is just slow. It's just not good. There's no universe where Nidalee is top right now. Doesn't make sense why he tries to get this intel for his team. It's not beneficial information, and so his clear is really stunted. So Peanut and KingZone and friends, they have a lead right now. Infernal Drake is also the first Drake that is spawned. I think that it is... I don't know, actually, who it's more important for. That's really close. I think it's more important for Griffin than it is for KingZone, the Infernal Drake. Right now the game's just stagnating. There's not really that much to talk about. Peanut has priority and leads basically everywhere. Although that Scuttle Crab RNG is a little bit unfortunate, but it looks like Peanut's going to be able to get there in time anyway. The problem is that it's in close proximity to Tarzan. Just imagine if the Scuttle Crab RNG'd on the right-hand side. That would be so problematic. Tarzan's actually going to be able to pick this up. This is RNG that is definitely going in Griffin's favor. Peanut looking for a little bit of a gamble play here. He's trying to anticipate that there's going to be a gank coming, or maybe that Darius would just trade with level 6. And, oh... Alright, well... The thing here is that they don't know that Nidalee is here. If that spear hits, Sword is dead. Sword's dead. Leaf missed. Everything just whiffed. If this went well for KingZone, Griffin walked into it. This was KingZone setting up again, very nicely, and then executing poorly. If that just went in KingZone's favor, top lane is over. And then Peanut is able to transition. He's able to do red into blue handoff, into establishing priority on the right-hand side. And then when he's on the right-hand side, he's able to mess with Tarzan at his wraiths, because Tarzan has to go and get his red. And then when they go for the blue handoff for Chovy in mid lane, Peanut can neglect his own wraith camp or his own golems. Khan's on an island. Khan should actually probably recall. Like, I think. All right, so in a good universe, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at a rotation that could exist. Okay. Kill Sword and try to kill Tarzan. Alright? Push in this wave as a team. Peanut recalls. Alright? Peanut recalls. Khan shoves in the wave. Khan goes over here. Khan recalls. Alright? Khan arrives at Fountain. Nidalee arrives at Fountain. Khan starts running all the way down into Dragon. Bottom lane establishes priority. Aurelia establishes priority. Alright? Now you hand off the blue to Aurelia, and you just start the Dragon with 5. If Sword ends up teleporting, that's fine. If Sword teleports, it doesn't matter because you guys have more gold efficiency. He's going to teleport to the fight. If you win the fight, you teleport back up to top lane. Top lane's over. Mundo is now just light years ahead. He's going to have a 2-level advantage. They're going to be able to get the Infernal Drake. They're going to be able to win a fight. And then Nidalee is going to be able to path onto the left-hand side of the map, which is exactly where Trundle needs to go after securing his own red. And then because of this, Mundo can establish priority up in top lane, crash the wave into the turret, run down river into the blue, and get a ward onto the blue. If Nidalee paths onto the left-hand side of the map at the right time, and then depending on what BDD's HP is and where his mana's at after the team fight and whatnot, if he gets priority in mid, then they can actually make a play against the objective of blue buff. This doesn't end up happening. It's not allowed to exist. But that's a play that could have existed if Peanut just hit the spear. Peanut just hit the spear. So now that's not going to happen. There's a trade in mid. It should be noted, though, that Chovy is forced to use Flash. So BDD ends up getting the better end of that. Trading gold or economics with a accelerant-reliant champion is never good. So even though I would argue that Zoe scales harder, it's always bad to trade 1-for-1 against them when they're entirely based around accelerating. That was okay. Well, that was really strange. Prey and Grilla barely end up being able to evade that. And then Peanut, meanwhile, not really doing all that much. Oh, sleep. That's a really good interaction. I actually love the Zoe Aurelia matchup. I think that it's very, very nice. Now Chovy is ahead in mid lane because of the CS differential, but obviously Aurelia does like the trade that just took place. And Griffin's in a pretty good spot. I think if you're Sword right here and you know that Khan doesn't have teleport, I think you just shove in this wave and you start running down river. Chovy can recall, come back. Tarzan can do Gromp and Wolves, and you hand off the blue. Darius runs through mid, you establish mid priority, and then you just start the Dragon. because you have Viper and Lehens, and they're going to be able to get, like, so right here, right? Let's just take a look. Andy Bendy, you shouldn't be saying that. They're making a lot of mistakes. All right, so you push in this wave as sword, right? And Tarzan eats this, and then he comes down, he eats this, he eats this. You can even let Darius get the Scuttle Crab. So you can optimize this even more. You can have Tarzan eat Gromp, eat wolves, leash blue, and then start kiting around, right? Chovy comes up like this, gets the blue, runs into mid with Trundle. Darius is now in mid, shoves in mid lane. Lehens and Viper reestablish bot priority, and the three of them go into the river. They get the Infernal Drake. After they get the Infernal Drake, Prey and Gorilla are under a lot of pressure because they don't have the flash on Prey, and then Prey's not going to have his teleport available. This draws Peanut to the right-hand side of the map. At this point, Sword has his teleport, so if Khan refused to leave top lane and didn't path down, Sword can just teleport now back up to top lane, and then everyone's free to just play a standard game. They don't do that rotation. Whoa! KingZone is applying quite a lot of pressure, despite everything that has been going on. Alright, they get the ultimate out of Viper. Prey has Vampiric Scepter so that he can fight against the sustain of the Vladimir. I think it's quite good. Now you can see that Peanut is actually soloing, or I thought he was soloing the Infernal Drake. But it looks like he doesn't want to do that, which is very strange. Because you see the way that Chovy is posturing in mid lane. You can see that he's wanting to recall, right? You see that Aurelia has priority. It doesn't even matter that Darius has teleport at this exact moment, because you know that they don't have any vision inside of the Dragon Pit. So if Peanut just starts it and pulls it out, and then Aurelia runs down into it, Chovy's not going to magically just abandon everything and go to it, and then Vladimir doesn't have his ultimate. So they're not going to do anything. Shen doesn't even have ultimate. KingZone could just secure the Infernal Drake. Now they're securing it late, which now means that Peanut's just pathing back to the left-hand side of the map slower. So they're getting it, but it is later, and the lanes aren't coming into them, so they're not able to utilize a defensive posture. Oh, that's a really pretty Shen ult. They were not respecting Shen. It almost looks like they don't have the timer. They were not respecting Shen at all. So like when you look at this play that KingZone's trying to make, right? We'll rewind a little bit. So you see this. You see Chovy. You see Tarzan. Right? You just got the Infernal Drake. You see bottom lane is going to reset. And then you're bringing up Peanut and you're bringing up Gorilla. But then what are you really hoping to accomplish? Because they can just pillar you and run away. They can Sleepy Bubble trouble. It seems like a play that doesn't respect that they have choices. And obviously they did not respect the Shen ultimate. And so Griffin is able to punish that mistake extremely hard. And they should be able to convert this into a tier 1 turret. Khan does not die. But Khan is definitely getting shoved around. Peanut comes up into top lane. Now he's just going to go and get his golems and then get his red. They do have the Infernal Drake. Looks like Griffin is going to be able to get the Herald. And the problem is if they get the Herald right now, it's very, very awkward. KingZone does not have a very good way of defending against it. They're going to be able to get there. Yep, they're going to be able to get there and kill Sword. This also took the pressure off of the Herald, and so now BDD is going to be able to do reestablishment priority. And you can see the bottom lane, I mean, Ezreal is just fine on the island. It's just fine down there, nothing's really going on. There's another Infernal Drake, they should just wait and scale and try to play into that. Because the double Infernal Drake for the Ezreal and the Nidalee is absolutely massive. Super, super, super big. Right here, Peanut should just keep full clearing his jungle. Mundo should just sit underneath turret. Prey and Gorilla should just keep farming the wave, doing absolutely nothing. They're going to make a play. It looks like they're going to try to kill Viper. Not quite able to get it. Middle East player was just a little bit late, but can't fault Peanut for that one. Peanut should be able to go back and get his Gromp now. Prey and Gorilla looking like they actually want to get turret damage. I don't like this when you factor in that Sword has teleport. Although it doesn't look like they... I mean, the lane state isn't super bad to where you would think that they would want to use Sword's teleport. But it is something to consider. You can see that Khan's trying to fish him out of a brush. You don't need to be making super aggressive plays. You just wait for the next Infernal. You keep chipping away at them. Vamp Scepter's doing a lot of work. I really like what Griffin's doing here. They're saying, okay, you can have the bottom tier 1 turret. We're going to trade the Herald. Now, if they get the Herald, they should definitely save it. And don't use it for a while. Try to see how long you can get it to last. I think that you should be looking to use it at roughly the last minute. See if you can actually try to convert it into a Baron and then utilize both of them, because Baron definitely will be up while that is still available. And Khan's not really getting too much usage out of top lane. Trinity Force now completed for Darius. He also has the Executioner. Looks like Solari's Locket for Tarzan or something. Or is Banner still available on this patch? I'm not entirely sure. Ezreal's going to have the Trinity Force completed soon. We are approaching that timing. 41 seconds until the next Infernal Dragon. Lane phase is extremely over, so it doesn't really matter. Khan could just abandon the top turret so that he doesn't have to use the teleport to get down to the dragon. I can't really see top lane right now. I would really, really like for the Observer to show me, but I don't think that we're going to actually get that. And it looks like Peanut and Gorilla... They did this last game. They were fighting over vision that was not that important. Like, it doesn't really matter about killing that ward. Right? Your mid laner doesn't have priority. You already have control over the necessary parts of the river that is directly important to the capturing of the Drake. They can't just magically walk into the river and kill the control ward instantly without you being able to throw a spear or something. So I think that just like last game, we're seeing them make a very similar mistake. Prey does not have priority right now, and you can see that Mundo is actually under enormous amounts of pressure. This should mean that Griffin should be able to convert this. Oh, I don't know what the hell they're doing. What? What are they doing? Oh my god, BDD wasn't standing correctly. If BDD was here, and... Okay, Prey missed everything. If BDD was there, and Viper gets stunned, it's still... Like, I don't know what the hell they're doing. And also, Viper can just pull instantly. Rakan shouldn't be able to get the knockout. Like, this is a surprise tactic that relies on Griffin making a mistake. They're forcing something completely unnecessary. You can see Mundo all the way in back. He gets Sleepy Bubble troubled. And Griffin is just lighting up the fight. Sword is just absolutely massive. I'm really, really curious who's calling for this garbage. KingZone lost the last game in exact similar fashion. Obsession over irrelevant... Oh, I want to comment on something that Viper did. I think that's beautiful. Obsession over irrelevant vision. Obsession over luxuries. And trying to force things without any reason. And Griffin, yet again, punishes it. This is Peanut is Krillin. And the thing that I wanted to talk about was you saw Viper channel TP instantly and go top lane. He knew that he wasn't necessary in bottom anymore. anytime you get kills, if you know that your presence is no longer needed, just get out of that fight and TP. Like right here. It's already over. Darius has got that. Look at him. He just backs up, and he's gonna. Looks like he goes forward a little bit. Teleport probably should have already happened unless he wanted the wave in bottom. Looks like maybe he was charging E and he wanted the wave in bottom, and then he teleports top and he gets the turret. And you see, Trundle still has that Rift Herald. So I'm curious how much time is still left on it, but I don't think they're going to be able to utilize the Rift Herald plus Baron. They have an Infernal Drake for themselves, but KingZone, yet again, they get themselves into fantastic spots, and they find ways to throw it. It's actually like watching KT, but instead of KT falling apart at the late game, KingZone is falling apart at the mid game. Okay, Griffin summons the Herald up in top lane. Not going to get any utility out of that. Look at all the champions for Griffin right now, and they are spiked. They're at a critical point for all of them, and you can see that KingZone is not quite there yet for some of their champions. They haven't had the time needed to scale. And then obviously Griffin is also being accelerated by the Infernal Drakes. They're grouping 5 mid, and it doesn't look like everyone's on the same page. They don't end up getting the turret. Lehen should just be able to... Okay, well, they don't let him actually give any of the stacks, even though there's going to be no resistance. Everyone's going to recall. Now, if you're Tarzan, it looks like he's just clearing out vision on the right-hand side. You put Sword down in bottom lane. Sword probably actually eats golems. He should eat golems. Just eat golems. You can't get to that wave. What? You can't get to that... I mean, I see the size of the blue wave, and I think it's all going to die before we get... Yeah, I'm fucking coach, by the way. You couldn't get to that wave, and then you should assume that the split pusher is going to show up and shove the entire wave into you. Now, let's talk about what happens if Sword doesn't show up and Khan shows up at that wave. The correct play that Khan should make, but he won't make because we're in Season 8 and people still don't know, you know, they've never played a game of chess in their life. Khan should let all the minions kill all of his minions and the lane come up and then lock it right here. He won't do that, though. He'll turn on W and he'll AoE the entire lane with Sunfire Cape on. But if we acknowledge that this is a possibility, Sword running straight into the lane is not good because this wave would have died. He should have just done the golems, and then Tarzan can just retreat back into his jungle and path to the left-hand side of the map. I don't know what Prey's doing here. This is another one of those instances of your team just needs... We talked about this in the previous game. Remember when Prey and Gorilla went up in mid lane and they tried to farm a wave right here? And then Tarzan came in with the Sejuani ult and everything? They're doing it again here. It looks like BDD is going to go down. Now the question is do you try to convert this into a Baron? And if you can end up getting one more... Oh my god! Wow. Wow. Oh, it's such a close fight. That was beautiful. That I am hoping for a replay. That reminded me of I think it was KT or it was SKT resisting SKT or SKT resisting KT in top lane. There was a really extended fight like this, and just the way that everyone worked in unison and harmony. It's like you're watching one mind. Oh, it's beautiful. Huge credit to Prey, though. He was trying to get shit done. You see so many Ezreals are just pansies. Oh, man. That was really good. Okay, so Tarzan going to end up picking up the Mountain Drake now. And KingZone are light years behind at this point. After losing that team fight, they just don't have any sort of priority or control. They're not even going to be able to get it. The Mountain Drake, the Infernal for Griffin, super, super, super oppressive. They don't have an answer to Darius at this point anymore either. And Ezreal just does not have time to get to the items that he needs to reliably kite out these fights against the Trundle and the Darius. Like the Knight's Vow for Tarzan. Like the atomization out of everyone on Griffin. You can see they're letting Sword push in bottom. They're letting him split because Khan actually just can't resist because Sword is just way too massive. Sometimes Mundos will try to resist by trading with the Darius gradually, and then trying to bait his ultimate out of him, and then using your ultimate to sustain against it. And then at that point, you can slowly recover the lane and push back into the Darius while his ult's on cooldown. Okay. Now at this point, some people might think that this is a smite fight. I don't actually think so. If Griffin coordinates this right, they have two options. They can either turn, or they can utilize Shen correctly and prevent Peanut, in theory, from being able to get the Baron. I mean, they even have Pillar too. You can Pillar the Nidalee. There's so many things that you can do. As time continues to go on, it seems like more and more teams are getting like Baron, or like a fear of these Baron plays. You never saw such safety taken in earlier seasons. I think that it's also a testament to teams being unwilling to push themselves to properly set up and coordinate the Baron with their skills in order to secure it, rather than it being the correct play to not capture it. In this instance, I think it would be correct for Griffin to attempt to capture it. I think that you can definitely coordinate it and deny KingZone from being able to get a steal. There are definitely occasions where, yes, you do back off. I do like that there's also obviously the option to utilize it in a way to bait the fight. I don't know what the hell Peanut's throwing his spears at. Griffin is playing this super, super, super safe. This is actually really strange. They're just continuing letting Darius split push, and they're executing a 3-1-1. And you can see that they're slowly chipping away at certain things. And it looks like they've finally decided to go in on Prey. They end up getting him. There's no reason for KingZone to defend the tier 2. So they find a crack in KingZone's armor. Lehens ends up landing that taunt. Tarzan's there with the pillar. Just deleting him. And that's definitely going to be Baron. Tarzan ends up living. Yeah, BDD's not going to be able to do anything there. Chovy able to pick up that kill. And it looks like Khan's trying to dog down Sword. Don't know. No, he ends up missing the book. Now, the Cloud Drake's interesting. Griffin is electing to take the inhibitor. Wait, are they opting to end? They can. Depends how they do this. Depends how they do this. Oh, wow. Yeah, they're going to end with the mountain. Wow. Peanut went way too far. And I don't know what Khan's AFK. Khan doesn't... Wait, Khan has TP. Why isn't Khan... Khan just TPs to Nexus turret right now. Like, before this turret falls, you have to TP to Nexus turret. So, recapping on this game. Griffin played phenomenally from mid-game forward, once they got their leads. They again punished KingZone blunders, KingZone huge mistakes. I've only watched a few series from Griffin. I think that this mid to late performance in game number 2 was the best that they displayed. KingZone did not look like they were playing like the KingZone from spring, the KingZone that, you know, everyone's like, oh, they win worlds. What happens if they don't make these blunders, if they don't forcefully make these aggressive plays? Because they had massive leads against Griffin. In both games, they had absolutely enormous leads. If Peanut hit Sword with the spear, if he hit the point-blank spear, Sword's lead never occurs. Khan has teleport advantage. KingZone has double Infernal Drake. BDD is going to be fine. Khan's going to be ahead in CS. Prey is going to be stable in bottom lane. It's going to be unlikely that Griffin gets Rift Herald. All of these things obviously are like what happens if, right? And I think that that's still the big question for me. The jury's still out on that for Griffin. I think that their mid to late performance was really good. I do think that their hesitation on some things, like the Baron here, they played overly safe. I think that can punish you, especially if you don't have such massive leads and your leads aren't allocated in the exact champions that you need them to be allocated into, or like the gold, whatever. So with that being said, I want to see what happens when they collide with more teams throughout the split. I want to see what happens in playoffs, because I'm pretty sure they're going to make playoffs, and how they perform in a best of, or a longer best of series, where, you're going to be able to solely prepare for them and all that good jazz. Can they make worlds? Maybe. Yeah, especially if KingZone keeps, they keep doing this. KingZone still going to make worlds, right? SKT, probably not. This is probably going to be one of the first years no SKT at Worlds. But obviously the contestation is going to be up there with KT and whatnot, so we'll see what ends up happening. I think that it's really good to watch them. But I don't look at this series as Griffin just destroyed KingZone, because I don't think that's what happened. It felt like, to me, like KingZone was depressed. Okay, like, not actually depressed, like the players are depressed, they looked depressed. Like KingZone, the team as a whole, their dog died or something. Their level of play was very subpar. And how forceful they were was just really strange. So that's it for game number 2.